Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. We begin with major developments across Washington, the global economy, and rising international tensions. There is a lot unfolding, and tonight, several of these stories could reshape the political and economic landscape in dramatic ways. The Supreme Court just struck down President Trump's emergency tariffs. Democrats are preparing to block his next move. Ukraine is pleading for support. Iran tensions are rising again. And tomorrow night, the president delivers a major State of the Union address. What happens next could define the direction of the United States. Stay with us. Tonight's top stories. The Supreme Court rules President Trump's emergency tariffs illegal, but the White House immediately announces new 15% global tariffs. Democrats vow to block any extension of those tariffs beyond 150 days. A new CNN poll shows only 32% of Americans say the president has the right priorities ahead of tomorrow's State of the Union address. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky makes a direct appeal to Trump. Stay on our side. Iran and the U.S. prepare for new talks in Geneva, even as military options remain on the table. The European Union demands clarity after tariff uncertainty rattles markets. And President Trump signals concern about a potential Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship. Now let's begin with our first major story. The Supreme Court has ruled that President Trump's emergency trade tariffs violated federal law. As a result, U.S. Customs and Border Protection confirmed it will stop collecting those tariffs after midnight Eastern Time. This is a significant blow to the administration's trade strategy. But here's where it gets dramatic. Within hours, President Trump announced he would impose a new 10% global tariff using a different legal authority, and then raised it to 15%. That's the maximum allowed under Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act. Stay with us, because this legal maneuver could spark a new clash with Congress. And what Democrats announced next could complicate the president's entire strategy. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says Democrats will block any attempt to extend these tariffs beyond the 150-day window. He called them harmful and accused the president of causing economic carnage. This sets up a high-stakes political showdown. Because if Congress refuses to extend them, the tariffs automatically expire. But if they pass, consumers could face higher prices. This is not just politics. It affects grocery bills, car prices, everyday imports. And with a State of the Union address just hours away, timing matters. Because tomorrow night, the president plans something big. President Trump says his speech will be a long one. His words: "We have so much to talk about." The address will be delivered at 9 p.m. Eastern to the 119th Congress. But here's the tension. A new CNN poll shows just 32% of Americans believe he has focused on the right priorities. That is a serious political challenge heading into a nationally televised speech. Several Jeffrey Epstein survivors are expected to attend as guests. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger will deliver the Democratic response, and California Senator Alex Padilla will give the Spanish language response. Expect immigration, tariffs, the economy, and national security to dominate the night. Stay with us, because overseas, one leader is watching that speech very closely. On the eve of the 4th anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered a deeply personal message. He told CNN he wants President Trump to stay on our side. Speaking from Kyiv, Zelensky said America is too powerful to walk away. His words were blunt. "Putin is a war," he said. "It's about one person." Zelensky admitted he does not believe Trump is putting enough pressure on Vladimir Putin. But he also said Ukraine cannot simply give Putin what he wants, because, in his words, if we give him everything, we lose everything. That is the emotional core of this war. Stay with us, because diplomacy is also unfolding elsewhere. The United States and Iran are preparing for another round of talks in Geneva this week. President Trump has warned that military action remains an option if Tehran refuses a nuclear deal. Meanwhile, the U.S. has built up naval power in the region. Iran's foreign minister says a win-win solution is still possible. But here's the open question. Is this diplomacy or a countdown? Because military buildup sends one message, talks send another, and global markets are watching closely. And Europe has now entered the picture. After the Supreme Court struck down the tariffs, the European Union demanded clarity. Its message was simple. A deal is a deal. The EU expects the United States to honor the bilateral trade agreement reached last year. But now, uncertainty hangs over that agreement. The European Parliament may delay ratification until legal clarity emerges. This is not just a US issue. It's global. Markets, supply chains, all connected. And the president is now questioning the Supreme Court again, this time over birthright citizenship. President Trump wrote on social media that he fears the Supreme Court will reach the wrong conclusion on birthright citizenship. The court has agreed to decide whether his executive order attempting to end birthright citizenship is constitutional. This touches the 14th Amendment, a nearly 160-year-old constitutional guarantee. If overturned, it would reshape immigration law in America. If upheld, it would mark another legal defeat for the president. Either way, the political consequences could be enormous. Tonight, we are witnessing a Supreme Court showdown over tariffs, a brewing battle between Congress and the White House, rising tensions with Iran, a direct appeal from Ukraine, global trade uncertainty, and a State of the Union speech that may define the next phase of this presidency. The next 48 hours could reshape multiple fronts: legal, economic, and geopolitical. So here's the question for you. Are these aggressive moves a sign of strong leadership or signs of escalating instability? We want to hear your perspective. If you value clear, verified, and in-depth reporting without the noise, subscribe now, turn on notifications, and join this growing community of informed viewers. Because we break down the headlines and the story behind the headlines. Thank you for watching and staying with us tonight. We will continue to bring you verified updates as these stories develop. I'm glad you could join us. Good night, and stay informed.